What happens when the world's most ruthless arms dealer survives a deadly assassination attempt, undergoes a divine tribunal in a near-death coma, and tries to save his billion-dollar empire? Here's the catch. To protect his life's work, he's forced to leave his entire fortune to the one person who absolutely despises him, his estranged daughter, who happens to be a devout, no-nonsense nun. Welcome back to Recap Reel, where we break down full movies, unveil hidden details, and explain those confusing endings you can't stop thinking about. Today, we're diving headfirst into Wes Anderson's 2025 cinematic maze, The Phoenician Scheme. From symmetrical table read scams and high-stakes Middle Eastern espionage to a deeply emotional story about trauma, greed, and redemption. This isn't just a movie about a bank scheme. It's a hilarious, tragic, and visually stunning story of a father trying to buy back his daughter's love. Grab your popcorn, hit that subscribe button, and let's break down every single plot twist, character motive, and subtle piece of symbolism in the Phoenician Scheme. Our story opens in the mid-1950s, amidst the scorching deserts and pastel-colored grand hotels of a fictionalized Middle East. Meet Anatole Zsa-Zsa Korda, a corrupt, fabulously wealthy tycoon who built an international cartel selling heavy artillery, illegal weaponry, and government secrets. Korda is a man of precise habits. He wears tailor-made tweed suits, drinks espresso at exactly 81 degrees Celsius, and trusts absolutely no one. Korda has 9 biological sons from various marriages. Yet, he views every single one of them as incompetent, money-hungry vultures waiting for him to drop dead. And that day almost arrives sooner than expected. While traveling on his luxurious private plane 5,000 feet in the air, a hidden bomb detonates, tearing the aircraft in half. But surviving a mid-air assassination attempt is just another Tuesday for Anatole Zsa-Zsa Korda. Korda narrowly survives, but the blast sends him into a deep coma. Inside his subconscious, we enter one of the film's most striking visual sequences. A surreal monochrome courtroom, a divine tribunal. Korda is placed on trial by 3 mysterious judges who review his life's work. They present him with a literal ledger of his sins: illegal war profiteering, bribery, blackmail, and worst of all, emotional abandonment. The judges inform Korda that his time on Earth is rapidly running out, giving him one final warning to balance his moral books before his ultimate demise. When Korda suddenly snaps back to consciousness in a sterile hospital room, panic sets in. Realizing his sons will dismantle his legacy within minutes of his death, he makes a radical executive decision. He completely rewrites his last will and testament, stripping his 9 sons of their inheritance. Instead, he names his estranged daughter, Liesl, as the sole heir and trustee of his vast estate. There's just one tiny problem. Liesl was shipped off to a secluded European convent when she was just 5 years old. She hasn't spoken to Korda in nearly 2 decades, and she views her father not as a legendary business mogul, but as a moral monster who abandoned her after her mother's tragic, unexplained death. To claim his fortune and secure her signature, Korda travels to the convent alongside his socially awkward, hyper-organized personal assistant, Björn. Björn is a human computer. He memorizes balance sheets, carries a color-coded briefcase of legal documents, and panics whenever a schedule is delayed by more than 40 seconds. When they arrive, Liesl is far from impressed by Korda's sudden appearance or his promises of unfathomable wealth. She flatly rejects the inheritance. However, Korda reveals a crucial detail: his ultimate legacy project, the Phoenician Scheme, a massive regional infrastructure initiative designed to build water canals, railways, and power grids across the Middle East, is under attack. A syndicate of rival arms dealers and corrupt corporate executives have conspired against Korda. Capitalizing on news of his bomb attack, they've artificially inflated the prices of steel, concrete, and shipping routes, deliberately driving Korda's parent holding company toward immediate bankruptcy. If the company collapses, thousands of local workers will lose their livelihoods, and Korda's rivals will seize control of the region's resources. Reluctantly, Liesl agrees to join Korda and Björn on a high-stakes, cross-country road trip. Her goal isn't to get rich. It's to ensure the infrastructure project survives for the benefit of the local people, and to personally keep an eye on her father's shady methods. What follows is a brilliant series of classic Anderson-style episodic capers. From luxurious train dining cars to dusty provincial banks, the trio pulls off an array of elaborate financial bluffs, extortion schemes, and high-wire negotiations to raise emergency capital. In one iconic scene, Korda tricks a group of rival investors into buying shares in a non-existent copper mine by using Björn to fake a series of urgent telegrams from international governments. But throughout these victories, tension simmers beneath the surface. Every time Korda tries to bribe Liesl with expensive jewelry, private plane rides, or promises of luxury, she shuts him down. She confronts him over his refusal to address the past, blaming his ruthless ambition for breaking her mother's heart and destroying their family. Korda, unable to process genuine emotion, continuously hides behind cash, contracts, and corporate jargon. Just as Korda is on the verge of securing the final $50 million needed to complete the Phoenician project, disaster strikes. While flying over a remote desert region in a vintage twin-engine plane, a sabotaged fuel line causes both engines to fail. The plane crashes violently into the sand dunes. While Korda, Liesl, and Björn miraculously survive with minor injuries, their radio is destroyed, their supplies are minimal, and they are completely stranded in the middle of nowhere. To make matters worse, Björn discovers through a portable receiver that Korda's rivals have officially executed a hostile takeover, freezing all of Korda's personal bank accounts and stripping him of his corporate immunity. Facing heat stroke, starvation, and the very real threat of death for a second time, Korda's psychological armor completely shatters. Away from his fancy suits, boardrooms, and endless stacks of money, he can no longer pretend to be an invincible tycoon. Under a starry desert sky, Korda finally breaks down and confesses the truth to Liesl. He admits that his entire life was built on a foundation of paranoia, greed, and hollow vengeance. He confesses that after her mother died of illness, he felt so overwhelmed by guilt and incompetence as a parent that he exiled Liesl to the convent. Not out of cruelty, but out of fear that his dangerous lifestyle would ruin her. Liesl listens silently as her father realizes a devastating truth. All his billions could never replace the years of affection, guidance, and presence he stole from her. Liesl doesn't want his money, his company, or his empire. She only ever wanted a father who truly cared. Rescued 2 days later by a local desert caravan, a transformed Korda returns to the city to settle the score, not with weapons or lawsuits, but with a final, selfless sacrifice. Instead of fighting his rivals in court to reclaim his wealth, Korda executes a secret clause in his corporate charter. He liquidates every single one of his remaining personal assets, his mansions, art collections, luxury vehicles, and private bank reserves, and transfers every last cent directly into a public trust fund dedicated solely to completing the Phoenician infrastructure project. The move completely bankrupts Korda, reducing his net worth to zero. His corporate rivals are left with an empty shell company, while the water canals and railways are successfully completed, bringing prosperity and clean water to millions of local residents. His 9 greedy sons disown him completely, horrified that their father willingly gave away his fortune to the public. But as Korda walks out of the courthouse penniless, carrying nothing but a small suitcase, Liesl is waiting for him on the steps. For the first time in her life, she smiles at him, taking his arm as they walk away together. He may have lost his empire, but he finally gained his daughter's genuine respect and forgiveness. The film jumps forward 5 years into the future. We see a quiet, sunlit coastal village. Anatole Korda, now an old man dressed in a simple apron, is wiping down tables at a modest, charming seaside cafe. Behind the counter, Liesl, who has left the convent to live a quiet, secular life, pours fresh coffee for local patrons. They don't speak much, but their quiet, synchronized interactions speak volumes. So, what does the ending of the Phoenician Scheme really mean? On the surface, it's a story about a corporate comeback, but beneath Wes Anderson's symmetrical frames and vibrant color palettes lies a deep satire on modern capitalism and generational trauma. The Phoenician scheme itself is a giant metaphor. Initially, for Korda, the scheme represented ego, legacy, and financial control, a way to cheat death by building monuments of concrete and steel. But by the end, the scheme evolves into his spiritual cleansing. By divesting from his wealth and building something that genuinely serves others, Korda dismantles the toxic legacy of his past. Notice the symbolic shift in settings. Korda begins the movie in grand, sterile, enclosed spaces, luxurious hotels, armored cars, and courtroom walls. He ends the movie in an open-air cafe by the ocean. He traded an artificial empire for authentic human connection. What did you think of Korda's redemption? Was giving away his fortune a genuine act of love? Or was it just one last ultimate bluff to spite his rival businessmen and greedy sons? Let us know your theories in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with a fellow movie lover, and hit subscribe to Recap Reel for more deep dive movie recaps and ending explanations. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next reel.